So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Surprise, Aston Villa fans. This is a preview, Man City, Aston Villa versus Man City, I suppose, since Villa Park. Myself and Paddy were sitting down. Well, we weren't sitting down. We were in our respective abodes. And Paddy messaged me and goes, when are we going to do the preview? And I said, we'll do it tomorrow, because I was pretty swamped with stuff tonight. And then about 9:15, I said, go on, hop up to your computer there. We might as well get it done now at 9:30. So that's why there was no pageantry about this one as to why getting out on social media, because as I say, we only just decided to do it 5 minutes ago, but we're absolutely delighted that we've decided to do it. And we are looking forward to this game, Paddy. We're looking forward to this game during the week. It's real acid test for the team, and Man City coming off, I presume, what they would term a disappointing 3-3 draw with Spurs.
You would think they would consider it to be disappointing, considering that Spurs were down players, as we saw. We got a result last week. They're on a disappointing run, I suppose. They drew 4-4 with Chelsea. They drew 1-1 with Liverpool. They went 2-0 down to Leipzig before coming back and winning 3-2, and then draw 3-3 with Spurs. Now I know they're decent sides, but by the measure of the fact that they've run away with the league for the last how many years, they're champions of Europe. So you would expect them, year on year, to mix it up a little bit in order to go and give fresh impetus to the team, which doesn't seem to have really happened this year to the extent it has the last few years. As a result, we're left with a really exciting, we'll call it a title race at this stage, but you know what I mean, a very congested top of the table. So it does make for an exciting game for the fans this week. A little bit later than usual, a 8:15 kickoff live on Amazon Prime, I believe. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I'm working, so I'll miss some of it. So we'll have to wait and see what I'll watch it later on in the evening, I suppose.
Yeah, and I suppose really the big narrative about this game is the amount of players that City are missing. City don't have the biggest squad in the world from the point of view, I suppose, of senior players. They've had a lot of injuries. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne, they bought Matheus Nunes from Wolves. Both of those out long-term injuries. They've had some yellow card challenges, and our old mate Jack Grealish and Rodri, the man who just loves to score against Villa. Glad he won't be there. And their squad is going to be tested, and realistically speaking, I suppose Kovacic just coming back from injury. He had a late cameo as well at the weekend. I presume they might have to dip into starting him on Wednesday, but he's only working his way back to fitness. Probably John Stones in central midfield for them too. So there's an aspect of this team that will be slightly threadbare. They're going to have to dig into their youth team. They're going into their academy graduates, I suppose, as well. The Norwegian guy whose name is really escaping me. I'm trying to stall so that I can remember his name. Oscar Bob. That's what it is. Yeah. I was going to say Bob. What I was going through my mind was former Nottingham Forest player Eugene Bopp was going through my head, and I just couldn't get that out the other side. So it looks like he's probably going to come in some way, shape, or form. And they're going to have to use
from The Simpsons.
Yeah, that's Bob. But they're going to have to use their they're going to dig
into it on the ground. But when you've got John Stones and Calvin Phillips and Nathan Ake and what's the young fella's name? Rico Lewis. Yeah. There's so much talent. They may have a depleted bench, but their team will be good, you can be sure. It's just if they pick up any knocks or yellow cards and have to freshen it up, then they're in a little bit of bother.
Yeah, and I think, look, as I say, like, do you really want to go with a central midfield partnership of Calvin Phillips and Kovacic when Kovacic is coming back from a long-term injury and Calvin Phillips is like his blood type is injury, at this stage. But saying that, he probably has a worldie against us on Wednesday now after not playing for so long.
Look, it's great. It's great that they for us. It's great. I'm really not too worried about what they have now. Now that we know who they're not going to be without. It looks like Haaland is going to escape any punishment for what he did yesterday, which is bitterly disappointing because they could retrospectively do it, but it won't happen before Wednesday, I'd imagine. But he lost the plot worse than most people you can see, and I thought it was absolutely cowardly, more cowardly than not playing advantage to not brandish a few yellow cards for the reaction. We're told they're cracking down on that. There's nobody cracking down on it, especially when you're City. They didn't give a shit. And look, huge mistake. I totally agree with the players for having a go. But if they're cracking down on it, they're cracking down on it. They're not exactly telling us the truth if that's what they said from day one. They crack down on kicking the ball away and stupid little things, but when it becomes in their face and people are criticising them, they're not able to handle it.
Yeah, look, I suppose the precedent for this is the Virgil van Dijk, albeit he was sent off on the field of play. He gets a retrospective additional ban for how he spoke to the referee in that instance.
Yeah.
And the FA even came out and did a big, massive press release about it, branded on social media and the whole lot.
Yeah.
Made him apologise, made Virgil van Dijk apologise, and look, look, we're not calling for Jesus. If we want to beat City, we might as well. It'd be sweeter to beat them with Haaland on the field. But it's just like
Let's be honest. It's great that they don't have Haaland. It's great they don't have Rodri. It's great they don't have Jack Grealish. I don't give a shit who they have on the pitch once we bloody beat them. I don't care what their excuses are. I want us to go. I want us to go and win the game. And after the result we had at the weekend, albeit great to get a point at the end of it, is we're all a little bit deflated by it. So it would be great to go and play a deflated Manchester City team and go and get the 3 points. I couldn't care less who they have out. If they want them more afterwards, that's not our fault. So hopefully that is the case. With Boubacar Kamara back, we've nobody else out suspended. Just the usuals that are out on long-term injury. And apart from that, I think we have a clear bill of health, do we?
We do, yeah. Bertrand Traore long-term, Emi Buendia long-term, and Tyrone Mings long-term, yeah, it seems so. Apart from that, as you said, clean bill of health, and even down as far as the likes of young Tim, who was back on the bench again during the weekend. Unlikely to see game time from the start, but it's great to have him in around the squad. He will get game time as the year goes on. I'm 100% sure of that. And the longer we can stay fit, especially in the month of December, coming up to January, we've spoken about before, the better we will be and the more cohesive this team will be as well. Now, Paddy, I suppose like we could sit here and we could do another 20 minutes and a preview here about what we think, how we think Man City are going to set up. But with all the amount of players that are out, as you said, like you said, you can name the players that are going to come in, but I think it's going to be difficult to kind of really nail what that back four is going to be like. Do they go with Walker? Do they go with John Stones in there? Do they maybe play John Stones in midfield? Does Calvin Phillips start from the bench? Do they bring in somebody like Sergio Gomez into in the more attacking left back role? Does Rico Lewis get in there? There's lots and lots to talk about with regards to that, but find Man City boring to talk about, Petty, and that's being really honest. I find them boring to talk about because they've been like people will have different opinions to this, but I've just fatigued of Manchester City over the last couple of years and their dominance, and they just don't they don't get my heart racing. I'm not too pushed about watching their games when they're on TV. I don't know what it is. There seems to be no spark or lust there. I don't know. They're just an entity for me.
Yeah, I think part of it is that we've been flooded with media coverage of them for the last 10, 11 years at this stage, since 2011 when they won the league, all we get is Man City this, Man City that. The same way we used to back in the 90s and the 90s. It was Man U, it was Arsenal, it was Chelsea, then it's Man City's turn, with the odd sprinkling in between of the last 12 years. And I've just got complete full circle on them, from being my second team, growing up with my family all being Man City fans, to actually despising them. I hate everything they stand for. There's nothing likable about any of the players. There's nothing likable about their manager. I think he talks out of both sides of his mouth. He just annoys the shit out of me. So I've very little to say about them other than I hope we go and do a number on them, because it's long overdue. And, I think we're in a good run of form at Villa Park to go and try and inflict our game on them, as opposed to them inflicting their game on us this week, bearing in mind who's missing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we're going to go and turn them over. I think anything
Still a good side. Like, you said that you don't like them. I said that I don't find them exciting, but they're still a blood. Yeah. We can still respect them. Like obviously they're a fucking amazing side, and it is sour grapes from my side, I think, for sure. But look,
the sour grapes come from this time last year, well, a bit earlier, when they decided to announce those 115 charges on the week that we played them. And I haven't forgiven the Premier League for that, because it just got their goat up for that weekend, and they went and beat us, and it actually drained me when they did it. I didn't look at any other game other than Aston Villa for weeks afterwards. It just left a foul, wretched taste in my mouth for the way they handled it. To say they got 115 charges, and I was there expecting something to happen the following week, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. We're still here 14 months later, and the cowardly people that run our game have done nothing. But yeah, poor old Everton have to suffer a 10-point deduction, and they're afraid of their life in Manchester City. They're afraid of the life of their money. They're afraid of all the lawyers they could throw at them with the money they have, and that's why they've done nothing. And that's what really sickens me about them. I need to get off the fence now, do I?
Yeah, Paddy. I'm trying to draw an opinion out of you here. You're being very, very diplomatic in what you're saying, Paddy. But what was I going to say there? I actually had a good question there, and I'm after knocking it out of the side of my brain. It's been a really, really long day for me today. This game, Paddy, I suppose one of the things with this game in recent times has been there's always been something that we've come away from this game going, even from the juggling ball incident with Dean Smith, going back to the Rodri goal where they changed the laws of the game afterwards. There's always been something that's been unexpected in this game. And even go back to last year, Ashley Young starts at left back, and Ashley Young turns into prime Ashley Cole, when he was playing there last year. And he was absolutely brilliant against De Bruyne, and we got a 1-1 draw that day, and should have and could have won it with Coutinho at the end. There's always something that's unexpected or that happens in this game. And I think it has the propensity for this on Wednesday night as well, because like our home form is just like, if we won this game, I'll go so far as to say, if this was an entertaining draw at the weekend at home, you start to talk about magic in Villa Park at that stage, I think, because we're on the 13-game winning streak at Villa Park. Certainly if we win, we break the record of consecutive wins at Villa Park in recent times, I think. You do it against Manchester City with Arsenal on the horizon, your tail is up. But I think it'd be huge for Aston Villa. I think it's huge for Emery's credentials, I suppose, because some fans are very much a case of, we're going under the radar, we're not getting the respect we deserve, there was nothing said about Villa in Match of the Day. I'm well past that, caring about that anymore. But what I would really care about is how they would handle a Villa win with 3 draws in the bounce for Man City at the moment. We're talking about a wide open title race, and let's say and think for a minute that Villa were to take 3 points at Villa Park. The talking points around the league will be absolutely massive coming into a busy December period. Not just for Villa, but about the actual title race is on then, I think. Not for us, but for the 4 or 5 teams that are chasing Arsenal at the top.
Yeah, and look, a win for us tomorrow really puts the cat amongst the pigeons. Not so much puts us amongst the pigeons. it just puts Man City in a worse position, and that's what's going to be the narrative. It'll be how bad Man City are, or the period they're going through. There'll be no talk about Aston Villa, and you're dead right. I've gone past that now, and I went past it when they tried to get rid of Unai Emery away from us a few weeks ago, and they were touting him at Man United and stuff, and we've never really spoken about it, but the purchase of the Union, I think you pronounce it in Spain.
Yes, yeah.
Has really shown the commitment that our owners have to Unai Emery, and any journalist that's now touting him to be the next Man United manager hasn't a bull's notion what they're talking about. So I'm waiting on the next guy to come out with some other shite like that and point out the fact that he's not following what's really going on in our club. And look, if they don't talk about us a match of the day, that's fine. We gained the point that we probably didn't deserve at the weekend. We'll keep doing that. We beat Spurs last week. We didn't deserve to beat them. So I don't care if we go out and the ball hits Ederson's
John McGinn's arse.
I don't care how it happens. If we can go and beat them on Wednesday night, it's just going to. I can only imagine what the atmosphere is going to be like in Villa Park if we went and beat them, because people are a little bit pissed off at the weekend, but still riding the crest of their wave from the 40 odd thousand that are there week in, week out with season tickets and what have you, that can't get to away matches. So the away matches don't mean as much. Not that they don't mean as much, but they don't have the lost for a word here now. But
Paddy, I can hear the YouTube comments afterwards for the next 3 days rolling in under this video. Quickly clarify what you mean. Quickly.
No, but it's everybody. There's 40,000 people on the crest of a wave here. That wave is our home form, and if we can continue that and keep that, if we keep that home form the way it's going, we're looking at a nailed on top 4 finish. If we start to lose a little bit, then we'll drop off. But if we can keep the top 4, keep the home form up, and nicking wins and nicking wins against the big teams, then like if we were to come away with 2 points out of the next 2 games, I'd be fucking delighted, because it means we've stopped them winning, and we've stayed within touch and distance, and then we can concentrate on the games ahead that we probably should be winning. But it would not surprise me one bit to be here talking to you on Saturday evening about maybe getting 4 points out of the 2 games. It also wouldn't surprise me if we got nothing out of the 2 games. That's just the way this league is absolutely nuts. And you only have to look at the last few results from Manchester City to show you how unpredictable it is. The last few results for Spurs, so unpredictable. Anything could literally happen. But at the moment, the only team that benefits from us beating Manchester City is probably Arsenal tomorrow on Wednesday night. So,
Arsenal and Liverpool play on Tuesday. No,
do
they?
Is it Arsenal and Liverpool play?
I don't know. I'm. You know me, Paddy. Me and fixtures are just gone since I had the second child. Like I was going to come up with a statistic. Arsenal and Luton.
Yeah. And Liverpool play Sheffield United, so you can be nailed on that.
There you go.
It's Man United and Chelsea. You're thinking is the big one on Wednesday. So.
The big one. The big one is Man City, Aston Villa.
Oh, absolutely. They're the 2 that are higher up the table playing against each other.
There's two things there, Paddy, that you mentioned about. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think City are only 4 points better off on the away. If you were to just take away games than we are this season. I think I read that statistic today correctly. As I say, my mind fell out of my brain around 3:00 today, so I'm open to interpretation on that. And also, you said that you stopped, you kind of left it in the past with regards to match of the day and that when they started trying to get rid of Unai Emery from the club. I kind of left it in the past when I asked Danny Murphy to fight me in any car park of his choice, and he didn't even respond back to my tweet. So that was the time that I kind of left it all behind me. I said, "Well, I don't care. I've made my point. Now I don't care." And that was a long time ago. If anybody's new to the podcast, that that was an interesting night, put it this way. I was watching the Villa game, and let's just say I had a few libations, and I was well lubricated at the time, and I woke up the next morning in howls of laughter at a tweet that I had sent Danny Murphy in the middle of the night. So that was a funny one. Also, as well, you know, there will be a big talking point about it. I would say he'll probably get more screen time than a lot of our players, but Jack Grealish is going to be out of the game. Look, as I say, coming back to Villa Park, it's not his first time coming back since he left, but coming back to Villa Park, he's going to be he's going to be sitting in the stands, I would imagine, and he's not going to be playing. If he's there, but one of the biggest things, like their team this year has really relied on that left hand side between Grealish and Jeremy Doku when they've kind of rotated the two of those guys around, and neither of them are going to be there on Wednesday night. And that's
we don't know for sure yet on Doku, do we? I
would be blown away if Doku is fit. I would be blown away the way he came off.
Yeah, if someone's holding their hamstring like that, I'd be very surprised in a 3-day turnaround that they'd even risk him being on the bench, to be honest. But that's more me hoping. Footballers are very unpredictable, the way they hold on to strains and stuff like that, and you just don't know how really bad it is or what it is. We saw one of the Bournemouth players get a kick in the stones at the weekend and then held his hip on his face. So you know what I mean? It's just footballers are weird, but I do think it was definitely some kind of pull there, and it would be mad for him to be there on Wednesday night.
Yeah, I think so too. It's but look, it does open up that, and that's why I spoke about the likes of maybe a Sergio Gomez comes in and introduce, like, Villa are just the team the players introduced themselves. Sorry, old Villa were the team that players used to come and introduce themselves. As I say, I probably have one of the biggest cases of Federico Macheda-itis of any Aston Villa fan. And whenever I see young players or players down on their luck or players who haven't got a real shot at the first team starting out of the blue or within an injury crisis, that's the one time where I become very irrational, and my positivity wanes towards what that person will or won't do when it's on the opposition team. But that the time is coming for that to happen with Aston Villa as well. I suppose it did happen in a lot of ways last year. Bertrand Traore comes back; he was completely out of the picture, loaned out, comes back, and then he scores that brilliant goal against Leicester, and then was it against Forest as well? He got one against Forest, I think, and they're two, like, that goal against Leicester got us into Europe. Because that game we had no right. We were doing nothing in that game. We were as lackluster as we were last season. So he was one of the players, I think, that we can point to from our side that came out of nowhere. And as you said, we're fully fit. So, another minutes in the tank for the likes of Jacob Ramsey last weekend, Alex Moreno as well. I think we will be much changed, Paddy. I think, from the point of view of, I think we might see one of those two start at the weekend. Like, Zaniolo has been a massive conversation point. We spoke about him before the game. It hasn't really happened for him at Villa. We said that it was probably a game for him to get something going. You can see he's running around the field, but when the ball comes to him, and he seems to be really inside his own head at the moment. And with Jacob Ramsey back now, I think it is time to really kind of take your time with Zaniolo. There's no need to force it. There's no need to rush it with him, and build up his confidence behind the scenes, like Unai Emery has done with Leon Bailey. So I don't expect Zaniolo to play against Man City.
I would be very surprised if we don't see Jacob Ramsey start, for what he offers defensively as well as ball carrying ability. So for me, I think it'll be Moreno will start, just because of what he gives us going forward. Don't get me wrong, Luca Dean has been fantastic as well. They both serve their purpose. Luca Dean has been a great servant this season. He's been one of the best players we've had, even as an attacking outlet. But I do believe, I don't think we'll see Zaniolo. Definitely not. And I really hope it's Jacob Ramsey, because he just offers us that something different. And as I said, defensively, he's much better than anything we can put in that position.
Yeah. And I think he will get a start. I definitely do. I don't know if Diaby comes straight back into the team either, Paddy. I think Leon Bailey, we're back at home again. Does he start Leon Bailey? Does he bring him off the bench? Maybe he's trying that kind of tactic with Diaby. Obviously, Diaby comes off the bench and gets the assist for Watkins at the weekend. So that's going to be interesting. So it will be an interesting team sheet tantrum on Wednesday. Also, who plays right back is a question on everybody's lips.
I don't think it's a question anymore. I think it'll Matty Cash will play regardless of whether we play 2 centre halves or 3 centre halves. Matty Cash plays for me.
I don't know, Paddy. I don't know.
I'm completely down on Konza playing there, and as I said many times, Konza's been one of the players of the season as well. I just want to see him play in his natural position and not to disrupt us as much as we did at the weekend. And look, Matty Cash has had his break. What did he play? About 20 minutes of not even, I'd say, of the weekend. So he'll be chomping at the bit to get out there on Wednesday night, I'm sure. So I just can't see any way that he doesn't play Matty Cash, and he could start Cash and Dean and bring Moreno in to do that late job, considering that Luca Dean stood down at the weekend. That could possibly be the case. So if he's managing minutes, that could be what's in his mind. So we'll just see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting anyway, and we will be back with the team sheet tantrum on Wednesday at, I'm doing the maths, or in 10 minutes, 7:05. 7:05 Irish time. And then it'll be a late post-match podcast then as well about about 10:10. But sure, you're all used to that. You're all used to that with us anyway.
All I can tell you is I can't make it, so you'll be on your own for both of them.
That's news to me now. Usually we at least have a whisper of that beforehand. But that's fine. That's fine.
Tell you, but you weren't listening.
Oh, you did tell me. Yeah. You sure you're going to be working, actually. Yeah. So you won't make it. So that's exactly. You mentioned it in the bloody podcast, Stephen. I'll tell you. I told you my brain fell out of my head around 3:00 today, and I make no apologies for it. Paddy, I've got messages. You've got messages. The podcast has got messages. On 2 previous streams that we did, people were asking because of you obviously being at the Legia game. People were just asking about what it was like and for your first-hand, I suppose, opinion of being there at the game. And I know it's some time has passed now. It's nearly a week on, but so many people have messaged me and so many people have messaged you. Might as well hear what it was like, Paddy.
Yeah, it was. Look, in recent years, this is the strangest I've ever felt at a game, and I suppose going from having a good few beers with good friends into the stadium, and walking by guys at the Holt End wearing balaclavas, and hoping that my son doesn't see what's going on here, but of course he did see what was going on. I just thought it was really, really weird going in. And of course we got into the stadium and nice and early. We got a bit of food on board and arrived into our seats in good time. It was obviously my son's first European game, so he was really looking forward to it. And then strange to look across at the end of the Doug Ellis stand and just see all those empty seats. And I was wondering, was this some kind of protest that, were they sitting out in the concourse just protesting because of who didn't get tickets and who did get tickets and whatever? And then, it got to the lineup and they were shaking hands and there was still nobody in the stadium. And then someone said, oh, no, it's the bottom of the north stand that they got, which was wrong as well. So the match kicked off. We scored, and everyone in the bottom of the north stand was cheering. So I was like, "No, sure." I saw them cordoning this off earlier in the day. It was definitely supposed to be there. So at 1-0 up, we get the notification that they're not allowing any away fans into the stadium. And my initial thought was, surely the best thing to do. Now, bear in mind that I didn't know the extent of what was happening outside. Surely the best thing to do was to funnel them in, hem them in there and surround them and keep them there for 2 hours after the game and ensure the safety of everybody inside. So I spent the rest of the 90 minutes worrying to what was going on outside the stadium. And, you know, in that time, I saw the mayonnaise bottles coming over the wall at the Holt End. And that in itself, while it was funny to look back on afterwards, that in itself just brings back memories of the 90s. Like I was at Atletico Madrid away in the 90s, and I was hit really hard by police with batons for standing on a line that I was supposed to be standing inside. They were just looking for any excuse to hit people. So I remember what the bad days were like. And you know, a lot of people aren't as old as me and wouldn't remember that and didn't feel it. And I don't think my son felt the way I felt, but I just felt really, really worried about what we were facing when we come out onto the street. And I will say that, you know, hats off to the West Midlands Police, because they did an amazing job. They not only did they manage to get them back into town, there was nobody around the stadium. There was absolutely nothing to worry about. We were back in the Aston Inn in 10-15 minutes. And I was so delighted to come out and not have to look at running battles on the street and go back to the dark old days. But it became apparent later on when we met a few Polish people later on at night when we went into town, and our good friend Ronan came with us, and Ronan went back to his hotel and we were going to our hotel, and me and my son went to get something to eat. And we met a good few of them. And they were embarrassed. They're embarrassed at what their fans had done and the trouble that was caused. And then they started to blame the club, and it became apparent then that the club didn't give anybody any tickets. So they were all marching towards the stadium, waiting on their phones to ping with their tickets on it, which obviously never happened. And all they were doing was apologising. And I was going, you don't need to apologise to me. You know, I didn't even tell them I was a Villa fan. I was just talking to them about the football. And I never said I was a Villa fan. They were just chatting to me, oh, you're Irish, blah, blah, blah. All very good English. But like, I felt really sorry for one guy who more or less told me that he had spent nearly a month's wages on this trip that he was going on, to have to put up with that. And look, it's blatantly obvious the club are at fault, and it's also blatantly obvious that they have a hardcore element, which there really is no place in football for anymore. But thankfully, and when I say thankfully, I realise that some of the West Midlands police force did get injured in what ensued. There was 40 odd people arrested, but thankfully, I like, with what we were hearing and what people were messaging us and sending us videos, I was expecting carnage outside the stadium when we got out there. So thankfully we got in early. We didn't see too much of it, but it makes you wonder when someone's coming to a football match in a balaclava what their intentions are. So that's the worrying part. But I must say, the Polish people that we met before the match, there were actually Polish people staying in the Aston Inn. I don't think they were fully prepared for that, but in fairness, there was police officers in the Aston Inn because they knew they were there. They were apologetic after the match. The people we met later on were apologetic after the match, and a couple of people we met in the airport were all apologetic. They were absolutely dumbstruck at what had gone on. So, look, I was just happy to get out of there and not have to worry about getting my son into a safe place, because you know, when you step outside Villa Park after a night match and it's lovely and bright inside under the lights and it's amazing atmosphere, and then you go out and you feel the cold and the dark winter's night, and it feels, you know, you've got the backdrop of Aston Park there as well, and you're wondering, are they all up there in the park waiting to make a run at us and all this kind of stuff? And everybody felt the same. That's you know, when we left, I think everybody felt the same. And I just, once again, West Midlands Police and Stuart Bladen and his crew did an absolutely amazing job to keep everybody away. And and look, to those, I have to keep saying it, the honest to God football fan that came from Poland to watch that match, I feel sorry for them, because they lost everything. They lost the match. They didn't get to see it. They spent a good bit of money, you know, with in a country that wouldn't have the disposable income of Western Europe, I suppose would be the best way to put it. Still a developing country, to have to put up with what their club did to them with the tickets, I thought was embarrassing, for the club and for them. It hurts me to say it, but I think the only way forward is a European ban for the club. Not for the country, but for the club. I think it's the only way they're going to learn. If they get away with this, with the extent of the arrests that were made, they'll just do it again and again and again. And look, it's the second time this season they've done it. They did it in Leicester a few years ago. And hopefully nobody will ever have to sit in the stand. And it was unprecedented for them to lock people outside the stadium. I don't think that's happened ever. So it took balls to make that decision. And look, I'm full of admiration. I went full circle from worrying about what was out there and thinking they've made a fuck up here. They should have let them in and kept them in there. And then to see what way it finished out, all I can do is put my hands up and say that they got it absolutely spot on.
And I think they did leave them outside. I think the reason they did that was because up to like 6:15, no one had got confirmation that Legia were even going to take any of their tickets. They made, apparently, this is what it is, that they made the decision at 6:15. The game is kicking off at 8 o'clock. You know, I think it's a case of, at that stage, it was like, you know, it was a call your bluff situation, and Villa just went, right, bluff, we call your bluff now, and see what happens. And look, it'll all come out in the wash. UEFA will be forced to make a decision on this one way or another, and we wait with bated breath to see what that is. For
every true football fan in Europe, the only thing they can do is ban them, and that's unfortunate for their true football fans. I just can't see any other way this is going to be resolved. If they don't do it, this is what the third strike. I'm sure there's been more that we didn't hear about, but high profile ones against Leicester where they wrecked the place. What we saw against Alkmaar earlier in the season, and now this. Something is rotten at the club with the rotten element of fans, and there's obviously a rotten element on the board making the decisions to leave them in that situation. So the ban is the only way out for me. But the most important thing is that very few people were injured, and I obviously commend everybody that put themselves in danger to make sure that no Villa fans were in danger.
Yeah, and move on from it. I think now, like one of the biggest things that I suppose with regards to Legia as well, that isn't going to go in their favour when UEFA do look at it, is they've got a player that's up in court in Alkmaar in early January, for you know, getting into an argument with an Alkmaar official, and there's look, so it's there's quite a lot. It's not just going to be the Villa thing, and look, unfortunately, sometimes stuff like this happens, but it's just, I think, that the fact that it's just been ongoing, you know, for a couple of seasons now, but there will be repercussions for it, and we wait to see what those are and when they do come down. But yeah, and you're safe and sound, which is the main thing. So,
yeah. And look, we met Rob Warner, who we've had on the show a few times, and he had his little girl with him, and all I kept thinking was, that little girl's in the Doug Ellis stand. What's going on underneath that Doug Ellis stand? And it just left me numb for 90 minutes with worry about what was going to happen afterwards. And I have to say, after we scored the first goal, I was looking around the stadium at people's reactions and looking at, like, no matter where you go, you get away fans sitting in the home end. I've done it myself on numerous times, and it was quite obvious that people were on edge, and if anybody looked dodgy, they were pointing them out and the stewards were acting quickly to get them out of there as well, which was great. But then it's unfortunate because we've got a big sprinkling of Polish Villa fans as well who were at the match on Thursday night, and I'm sure they felt really let down by their compatriots as well. I spoke to one on the phone who is a season ticket holder. Well, did he use a season ticket or he has a season ticket? I don't know, but he goes 3 or 4 times a month. Like he's a super fan from Poznan, and he was really, really let down by his comrades, as he called them. But I think we've got everything is out in the open. I thought our club handled themselves very well. They gave out all the information and the timeline of all that happened, from offering them the tickets on November the 3rd on the police recommendation to right up to what happened on the day. Everything was handled perfectly.
Yeah. As I say, look, Hopefully we won't see scenes like that at Villa Park again ever. I was going to say for a long time, but ever. That would be nice.
Because nobody wants it. As I said, I experienced it back in the 90s. It wasn't only on European trips. I've seen heavy-handedness at away matches in the 90s, and I would absolutely hate if we went back to anything like that. And the police, our police have commended people all over. We've been in Alkmaar, we've been in Poland, and we've been told that our behaviour was impeccable. They even went out of their way to say we were impeccably behaved at the weekend as well. I saw the West Midlands police tweet that came out, because obviously they travel with the away fans as well. So look, we've covered ourselves in glory. I hope there isn't an element that would ever consider turning like that in our club, because these things need to be left in the past. This is our release, is watching our brilliant team playing football, not watching our fans kicking the shit out of each other. That's not where we want to get back to.
Absolutely, for sure. And we won't see scenes like that against City on Wednesday night. I
also feel very sorry for the sprinkling that took it upon themselves to go across town and watch the blue half of Birmingham play on Saturday. as if they haven't
their own fault. They can't blame Aston Villa for that. They can't blame Villa for that.
I'm only joking, but you get my point. I'm just having the crack.
Yeah. That's going to do it, I think, for tonight. We're going to end it on that because, as I say, we will be back with a team sheet tantrum. Well, I will be back with a team sheet tantrum on Wednesday night, and I'm looking forward to the game as well. As I say, I'm looking forward to no scenes like we saw the previous Thursday night. So join us again for the team sheet tantrum on Wednesday as we look forward to the Man City game, and we will be back with a post-match podcast as well on that day. And thanks ever so much to everybody for watching and for listening. So on that, before I fall asleep, nothing to do with Paddy's story. It was actually quite engaging, but as I said, I'm fit for the bed now. So I'm going to leave everybody do the same if that is what you're so inclined to do at 13 minutes past 10 on a Monday night. But thanks a million for watching, and in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.